You know, on Google, when you might be searching for something and you click on a link and it actually scrolls to a section of the page and highlights text corresponding to your search. How does it do that, and can you do that? Well, the answers to that are I'll show you, and yes, you can. In fact, you can do that for any link on your site. So let's say you have your own little search modal that takes people to pages on your blog. You can actually highlight text that corresponds to their search result. Or maybe it's just a link internally in your site where in one place you want to actually call out text that corresponds to that page, depending on where they're clicking from. You can do all of that, and there's a lot of customizations available in these text fragments. I'm going to show you how to get started, and believe it or not, it's nearly 90% in browsers right now, so you can start using it today. You ready? All right, let's jump in. Hey, what's up? My name is Chris, and welcome to Coding in Public. All right, so let's go ahead and work with these text fragments. Now, we'll be looking at this syntax right here, but I will be referencing a lot of things that are found in this MDM article and also in this web.dev article, and this is really, really helpful to follow along. They kind of talk through a lot of the choices that were made and how to customize it, so really, really easy to get started with here. Now, Google has actually created a browser extension that's available on Chrome, on Edge, Firefox, Safari, anywhere you want. That basically makes it really easy to create these links, so we'll be using that as well, and I've just added it right up here, and here's the Chrome version right over this way. So as you can see, all you have to do is add this hash and then this weird little character set right here, and then text equals, and then whatever the text is. Now, anything in brackets here is optional, so we'll look at the prefix, the end, and the suffix later, but basically you just provide it some kind of starting string. And again, I have this link right here, so all I'm going to do is show you how this works. So if I were to grab something like this, and then I just click this browser extension right here, it will actually copy this. And if I paste this, you'll see that it's giving me a link. And it looks just like that, right? This text and then an encoded string right here of the text that I just highlighted. So that if somebody comes to this page, it'll actually scroll to that section just like that. In fact, just to show you that that works, if I come down here, I can actually right click as well and copy it. If I come back up top here and then paste this in, it'll actually scroll down to that section just like that. Now, of course, if you have like smooth scrolling on, it'll actually smoothly scroll to that. I don't on this particular build, so you can see that it's just kind of jumping straight to that section. So that's the basic syntax of how you'd actually use it. You can provide some more like details that will help it. So you can actually give it an end as well. So let's say you wanted to say, hey, I want to start here and I want to end all the way down here. Well, if I grab all of this like this and I go ahead and do copy to select a text and I come up here and paste this in, you can see how this entire paragraph is now highlighted. Now what they've done here is actually just take the entire string and add it in here. But what you can do, as you can see here, is just do a comma and start it and end it. So I could say welcome to the, and then end with just a web developer. So if I came over here and did something like that, I could say welcome to the, and then right here I can just do a comma like this, and this basically tells it, hey, this is the start of the string and this is the end of the string. And now it'll still highlight that exact same section because it's the entire group start to end. And again, it's just with this little comma that you denote that. Now you may also notice that there's this prefix that has a dash after it and a comma, and then a suffix that has a comma, then a dash, and then the suffix. And the reason they have this syntax is because sometimes you'll have words on your page that are the same, and you want to target a specific section. So for instance, I've got web development right here, and I've got web development a few other places like right there. So if I grab this and use the extension here to copy a link, you'll notice that it actually adds before diving into, that's right here, and then at the very end it has dash, and then you'll say you'll need to, and you'll see that that shows up right this way. So in other words, what they're doing is saying, hey, I want this web development that's surrounded by these two other things. So it gets you really specific. So right here, rather than just the first one. By default, if you just type in text, in other words, if I just had the web development, it would grab the very first option on the page, which actually would be right here. So it's always going to grab the first option available to you unless you get more specific with this kind of syntax. Now, a couple things, like I mentioned, it will find the first matching instance, so prefixes and suffixes help distinguish your particular text. Secondly, all values must be % encoded. Now, that's especially important with dashes and ampersands and these commas because they're actually used in the URL itself. So in other words, if I came down here, for instance, like right here, see how there's a comma? This needs to be % encoded. So if I were to copy this for whatever reason and I came up here, you'll notice that it's % encoded. This is that 2C right there. Now, of course, with JavaScript, you can do just that. You can actually encode URLs, so that's really easy to get started with. Obviously, I'm just using the extension here to show you what you would need to do. Finally, just as one last example, you can actually have multiple text fragments. You just have to separate them by this ampersand. So let's say, for instance, that I wanted this right here. Maybe I'd copy this, and let's go ahead and add this up top here. And then let's say I also wanted this. So again, I'm going to copy this, and then I'll do an ampersand, and all I have to do is erase everything and come back here to this text. Like this. So you don't have to include all of this again. It's just text equals and then whatever the next thing is. So you'll notice now it says integrated development, and it also says developer unique. So you can highlight multiple things if you need to. I don't think that would be something I'd use a lot, but perhaps with a search result, if you had multiple hits that were kind of all the same weight, you might want to show them all on the page. Now, again, there are a couple obvious use cases for this. You could obviously just have a link on your site that points to a specific text somewhere else on your site, but probably the most normal use case would be you'd have some kind of search form on your site, and as somebody types in, it actually directs them to the page that they're looking for and highlights that text. Now, I have the code over this way just to show you one thing. That would be, let's say you came over here and you had getting started in web development and you had some ID in here like hi or something like that. Of course, you could come in here and let me make sure I save this. And instead of having all that, I can just have hi and it jumps to this section on the page. Now, because this has an ID on it, when I go to copy this, the extension will actually give me that as a fallback. So right here, this #, this gives me this as a fallback so that if for whatever reason it doesn't support it, the browser itself doesn't support it, it'll at least jump back to this ID. So if you would need that in some use case, you're welcome to do that. But for the most part, if I'm going to use this anyhow, this anchor link, then I would just use the anchor link. I also don't need it to be highlighted in some way, but you can do that in case you want to. Now, I hope that was a help in understanding how text fragments work and giving you some use cases for how you might use them in your own site. I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Happy coding.